Dan Illman, Mike Beer, Risen Star Stakes Saturday at the Fairgrounds. 4 graded stakes races. Let's kick things off with race number 9 at 1 1/16 for 3-year-old fillies. The grade 3 Rachel Alexandra Stakes. Let's meet the field. Only a field of 7, Mike, but we've got 2 grade 1 winners in Streaming and Rhea Antonia.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how Rhea Antonia runs in this race, because all things considered, and you know, she was a huge price in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fields and placed first after a DQ, but she ran pretty well in that race.
Yeah, she certainly did. She came from out of it. She hooked She's a Tiger, who's a pretty nice filly in her own right, and there was some bumping in the stretch. She was beaten a nose, of course, placed first via disqualification. Let's take a look at one of our formulator facts for the other grade 1 winner. That's the number 2 Streaming. She won the Hollywood Starlet over the cushion track 2 starts back, Mike, beaten last time out in her initial dirt appearance. The Las Virgenes, we see Bob Baffert, 31%, 287 ROI, second off the layoff in graded stake dirt routes. The key to this race might be pace. Streaming might be loose early.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, Dan. I don't like her in this race. We'll see what happens and how she runs. Obviously, she can win. It's not like she's done that much wrong in her life. Her last race, that last Virgenes, I don't know. I just didn't think that she ran that well. And I know that in her defense, she did get wired by Fashion Plate, who got to the lead ahead of her and then held her off all through the stretch. But it's not like that horse walked on the lead in there. I thought that she went a fairly legitimate pace. Streaming had her shot ahead of her all through the stretch, and she just couldn't get by. I was pretty disappointed in that effort. Maybe they just send her in here, and that makes her that much tougher in this race. But I don't like her last race, and I don't want her at a short price in this race.
Baffert is here. Todd Pletcher is here. And, of course, this time of year at the Fairgrounds, Todd seems to send nothing but live horses. Let's take a look at the formulator fact for the number 5, Got Lucky. Past 2 years, dirt routes horses coming out of a maiden win. Todd not afraid to throw them into graded competition. A 290 return on investment. Got Lucky has done nothing wrong in her career. I thought she was down in a tough spot down towards the rail in the grade 2 Demoiselle. 2 back. A very good effort for only her second lifetime start. And it was like breaking sticks in her seasonal debut.
Yeah, she caught a sloppy track last time, and she was just too good for those horses. I like her chances in this race. I guess the one question I would have with her is, will she finally get out of the gate this time? Because she's now run 3 times in her life, and all 3 times she has been slow away from the gate. And that, at some point, that's going to come back to haunt her, especially as she, starts stepping up into better and better races. And this is a pretty good field she runs against you. I don't know how many mistakes she can make, but to me, she's all upside. She didn't win either of her first 2 starts. But in my opinion, she was best in both of those starts. You talked about her Demoiselle, which just had a crawling pace, and she was trying to close up the rail. She ran really well that day. She buried that field last time, and I like the way that she finished in there. To me, it's all about distance with her. The more she gets, the better she's going to be. I think she's the upside in here, and I want her in this race.
Let's take a look at a quick formulator fact for Rhea Antonia. Past 3 years, dirt routes, coming off a 61 to 180 day layoff. Jeremiah Engelhardt, who's just such an underrated trainer, does very well. Now, he obviously had a big bomb in this sample, 3 for 11, a $9.27 return on investment, but I'm expecting her to be cranked and ready to go, because this is supposed to be her first step on the road to the Derby, not the Oaks.
I agree with that. I think that she probably will be cranked and ready to go here. And you know what? The more I went back and looked at that Breeders' Cup race, and we already sort of touched on it, she was a huge price and sort of felt like an outsider in there. You liked her that day. I thought you were a little bit crazy when you picked her, but you know what? I know she had a fast pace in that race and that she was running at the end, but she really made a strong move into that race, I thought. I think she did a lot of good things in there, and if she can step forward off of that, she's going to be a handful in here. I think that she's the horse to beat in here. I'm going to use her in the pick 4, but I will try and beat her with Got Lucky in here.
Before we get to our picks real quick, let's talk about Steve Asmussen's Untappable, because if ever there was a horse with dirtied up form, in my opinion, it's Untappable. Winner of her first 2 starts, including the Pocahontas at this distance. Then in the Breeders' Cup, she raced without Lasix. You could conceivably draw a line through that race, and she didn't have to like the cushion track most recently in the Starlet.
The thing about the Starlet, too, Dan, is she didn't run that poorly in that race. I mean, that was a race where Streaming and Taste Like Candy, they both got right up on the pace together, and she was off of it trying to close to the stretch. She actually ran on very gamely at the end. Those 2 horses just weren't coming back to her. I think that race is better than it looks on paper.
You picked Got Lucky on top in here for Todd.
Yeah, I did take her on top just because I feel like maybe in a lot of ways she has the most upside. I'm going to take her and hope that she breaks the gate this time, but I like mostly 5-4 to upset Rhea Antonia.
I'm going for just a little bit of a price. The number 7 Express Model is an Indiana bred, and you really have to take a bit of a leap of faith to believe that most recent Buyer speed figure in 86, 16 points higher than her best. She was 3rd in the Silver Bullet Day. Army, who was 4th, that was 22 points than her best. Maybe that number is just a little bit inflated, but I did like the fact she tried all the way down to the wire behind a couple of good fillies. She might be in closest attendance experience to streaming in the early portion of this race, she's going to be a big price. She's more of a B in a pick 4 wager for me. My A's would be Rhea Antonia, and maybe even streaming, just simply because of her pace advantage. But Express Miles will also throw a couple bucks on.
Hey, the improvement in her last 2 starts, those races at the Fairgrounds,
If you
is
believe the
noted
buyer.
to me, but she was tough to make in this race, I thought.
Got lucky for Mike. Express Model, my top pick, because you can certainly fool around with fillies like Rhea Antonia. Got lucky, streaming. Good running of the Rachel Alexandra to kick off our 4 graded stakes at the Fairgrounds. Good luck.